materials. And the figure was, I think it ended up around $38,000. And I didn't really believe they could do it for that amount. So we said less than 50, not over 50. If you want to adjust that, that's entirely up to council. But the requirements will be inspected by the structural engineer as well as myself. It's like when they're doing the building, we'll call him in at intervals. An outside structural engineer, the same one that has looked at it, to inspect it at certain intervals to be sure that it meets what he required.
I'm just a little bit confused in who is actually going to be doing the work.
They are. They can do the work.
Don't you remember the young man came?
I remember that, but I do have a question as to what are their qualifications to perform such work.
The young man that came and his father is a construction person. He's in the construction business.
So they do have some type of ability.
Yes, sir.
And it will be subject to inspection by Tex as well as the structural engineer to make sure the work that is being done is up to.
That's correct.
Do you remember, Tex, a number of years ago, when that building was looked at, I believe it was, I don't know if it was under the administration of you or before that administration.
It was Scott Owens'
Right.
administration.
And it was looked at, and we could not afford at that time to do anything. It was higher than this.
Well, actually, what they did, we were going to do it in-house at that time, and they came in and started underneath the basement area of it for supports, and it just kind of never did get anything finished.
What was the estimate? Because I remember it was a high
The
dollar.
estimate at that time included materials and labor, and I'm not sure. I'm thinking it was around 116,000. I'm not sure what it was.
So you think that this is, I mean, because that was 10 years ago or more, and you think that now with prices having gone up for supplies, and they're going to furnish the labor, but do you think that they're going to keep it within $50,000 considering the price increase in 10 years in materials?
I believe they can. I do. There was a lot of labor on that type of building, for instance. Labor intensive is replacing the mortar. It doesn't take much materials to replace it, but it takes hours on end to replace the mortar, digging it out and replacing it. So the labor and the material ratio on this building is way out of kilter compared to a normal construction job. It's more labor intensive than it is cost on materials.
And Tex, being on the historical register, can they go back with what we have today is the mortar type stuff that we use today, or is it going to have to be something different from?
It'll be something that's not so much sand, basically. That's what the problem was back then. It had so much sand in it, but no, it'll be modern. It'll just be, they actually dig out some of the mortar between the brick to go back a certain distance.
Is that still, would that be considered the pointing, like when you point the brick?
Well, it is, but they go back further than they do when they point the brick.
The only way I believe that it would have to be put back historically sound is if we were using historical grant dollars, like what we ran into with the windows on the old post office. So I do have a question about the $50,000. How is that going to be administered, and how are we going to determine that they are getting actual needs versus wants in upgrades and what they're doing? Surely we've got to have a way that we can monitor and administer those funds.
We will have to do that, and there's already been more or less a schedule. The shed, let's call it, that's between the two buildings, that part of it, they're going to do it first. So we're going to go down and look and say we need this many rafters, this much tin, and basically that's the way we're going to do it. And we'll have, I would assume probably somebody, we'll get with Public Works and probably somebody from there, myself, to monitor the materials. Of course, they're gonna be pretty much, with $50,000, they're gonna pretty much have to get what they need and not what they want.
But you'll be actively monitoring what's
Yes.
going on and what's being purchased.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any further questions? Yes, sir?
I'd like for us to insist that much as possible, everything be bought here in Temple. Because that's gonna keep our tax dollars here. It's gonna help our business, rather than purchase out of Montgomery, because we do have hardware, we have lumber yard down here, if they need certain width or joists to throw in those type of buildings, I'm sure they can cut it out at the lumber yard, and just make sure that we do everything that we can here. I have a question for you on page 2, section 2. Right under section 2, section 15. Explain that, do you have a copy of this?
I don't have a copy with me. Okay, that's the structural report that he made, that we have a copy of. And what that refers back to is what the structural engineer did.
It said any additional. Second page.
Right. Once any additional repairs that may be required by the city building inspector itself, once the work commences. In other words, if what it basically says, if we remove some material and see something that's we couldn't see without a little bit of demolition, then that'll have to be brought up to code. That's why I felt like we could put probably 15% on what they had originally said. And I believe the number was around $38,000, which I don't think they could do it for that, material-wise.
If it goes over $50,000, who's gonna pay?
If it goes over $50,000 and it doesn't meet code, they're gonna have to meet the difference, the way it's written right now. The city attorney would have.
Well, if it gets up to $50,000, it meets structure engineer and you approve it, they still need an addition 10, then they don't wanna come back to the city for some more money. And how are we gonna recruit, not recruit, something like that word, how are we going to get our money back? Putting that much money in this as a historic site, and I don't understand why that is, where they come in here and they was in Montgomery, the large city, when we come to they make this kind of money. I mean, they was in the historic district down there in Montgomery doing the same type of work, but yet and still they're no longer there, and we're gonna put $50,000 of city money into this area down there, hopefully that will pay for it. And then they might 7-year contract, then after 7 years they move out. I definitely wouldn't want to see the building torn down, but I'm just looking at, I don't understand why they left Montgomery and they're already in the historic district down there selling this type of woodworks that they're making.
Let me tell you what I know. Okay.
Yes, sir.
The lady, and I think this has been shared with this council before, the lady that did this, that's doing this, is a very successful artist. She was a painter to begin with, and her portraits hang of governors and different ones that she has painted, hang throughout state buildings throughout the state of Alabama. Then she got into wood carving, and she is an exceptional wood carver. Her opportunity was given to her by a gentleman named Mr. Ernest Collier, who headed up the DEDO program at Wetumpka High School years ago. She came through that program as a young lady, and Mr. Collier saw the potential in her. She's a native Elmore County girl, went to school at Wetumpka, and he helped her get started. with Leon Lloyd's studio in Montgomery.